All right, let's call this meeting to order. Tonight's Vicksburg Council regular session. It's April 17th, 2023. Call this meeting to order, and if you would all join us in pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll just take a moment of silence to recognize those. And if you would, Christian, please take a roll call.
Trustee Fields,
Here.
Trustee Reister,
Here.
Trustee Wagner,
Here.
Trustee Olson, President Pro Tem Keller, President Brisby.
And we also have, yes, Rick Holmes attending remotely tonight. Good evening, Rick.
And Mr. Holmes is aware that he'll participate in discussions, just, we don't have any action items. The approval of the general consent, but he made comments, just can't vote, but we certainly appreciate him taking time to remote in.
So we have an agenda in front of us tonight. There's one addition to note, village council action items. We'll make 10A, military banners. We all got a handout on this tonight, and I think Rick wants to speak a little bit about that. But, is there any other additions or suggestions from the council? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
Trustee Fields, support.
Trustee Wagner, motion, support by trustee Fields. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda in front of us. We have no public officials scheduled for tonight and no scheduled appearances. As I think someone said earlier, it might be one of our quickest meetings. We don't get these very often, but, sorry about that, Brian. So this is the time for citizens' comments for agenda items only. If you have something you'd like to discuss, now's not time to do it. Jim, are we live on Zoom tonight?
We're live on YouTube.
YouTube.
Tonight, and we have the remote in by Zoom.
All right.
We do not, in the next couple meetings, probably will not have hybrid, but we'll always be live on YouTube. And people should attend the meeting if they wish to make contact.
Keep that clarity going, because we've been doing it for the last almost 3 years, and time flies. All right, so seeing none, we'll move on to the general consent agenda. I think you all have copies of this. I don't think I'm gonna read them off, but the big one is, of course, our minutes of our regular council meeting, March 20, 2023, our work session minutes of the same date, and our warrant reports totaling $209,121.77. So anyone see any corrections or changes that needed to be made? Yes, $209,129.77. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the general consent agenda.
So moved.
Reister, support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, supported by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please. Christian?
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yeah.
President Brisby.
Yes. So that moves us on to action item 10, for military banners. So Rick, I know this is something that you've brought up on a couple occasions with us, and you've had conversations. You'd mind taking a minute just to explain what your thoughts are? And
You bet, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay. Yes. So about 4 years ago, I was in southern Indiana traveling on business in the community of Batesville, Indiana, and I noticed these banners. They're about the same size as on our light post at the intersection of Prairie and Main that announce our 150th anniversary. In any event, but the difference was that there were military men and women that served in armed conflict. I've never seen anything like that before, and so I passed a VFW hall and went inside and talked with the people that were at the post. And one of the things I realized very quickly was a sense of pride within them and others that I talked with in the community over the ensuing days. And it's something that, I also had an opportunity to talk with our VFW chapter in Vicksburg a few weeks back. I went to their monthly meeting, and it was just really interesting, again, seeing asking them what their interest level would be to participate in something like this. And you could see this sense of interest and pride and enthusiasm with them. And at the end of it, it was basically they were all in. They were willing to assist, in any way that they could. And so the idea really, I think, here is that, and again, I think Jim's going to talk more about this in a minute because, Jim has had multiple conversations with folks and has got a little bit more depth into what it would take to do something like this because it's not going to happen overnight. But the neat thing about this, though, is that you do get a sense of pride within a community that is honoring their veterans on these 3-foot by 2-foot posters that are held in the community. Typically, they're for a period of time that's defined by the community. Some do it between the 4th of July and Veterans Day, which is early November. Others do it for shorter periods of time. But the bottom line is that it's just a way of showing those that live in our visiting our community that we want to honor those who did serve with distinction and serve the community in an armed conflict. And I guess I'll leave it there, Tim.
So have you had any other discussions within other communities as to the funding? Is this something that is paid for by a municipality? Is it the VFW participate? Or do the people that want to honor the servicemen and women typically pay for it? What's your experience in that?
My experience, and again, I'll defer to Jim because Jim's had an opportunity to talk to the Director of Community Engagement at Batesville, Indiana. But my knowledge is, if you look at Portage, as an example, they recently did this. And what they're doing is they're asking family to pay a very nominal fee in order to, support the banners. And what we've found, or what we're hearing, is that it's a non-issue. That's the least of their worries. Most people are very flattered to have the opportunity, and if anything, there's a waiting list in order to get their loved one up on a banner. There's that much interest, is what other communities have seen. Yeah.
If I can, from talking to Batesville, there is a grant opportunity in their region of Indiana that municipalities is connected to what I interpreted as Riverboat Casino municipal type money that they were able to, so they use grant funded. They have 100 streetlights. They're a community of about 7,500 individuals. They sectioned them off and described them as rounds. So 2 years ago, this is the 3rd year, but their first year is round 1. Then they did round 2, and now they just secured an additional 100 families that want to honor their family member. So this will be round 3. And then what their intention is that this year, round 3 will be put up downtown. Next year, they'll go back to round 1. And then at the completion of 2 cycles, the family will be provided that banner. And she said at times with the elected officials will decide to continue it, re-up it or what, but she knows it'll go on for 4 more years. There is, an internal discussion they're having on the length of time the banners hang up in their downtown due to other events and that. So, she said the first 2 years, they get put up just before Memorial Day and taken down Veterans Day. But, she said it's up, of course, to their council vote, ultimately, but the discussions are a shorter period of time, whether that's July 4th through, Veterans Day or September 11th through Veterans Day. They're having internal discussions, so that's one thing that they learned. They felt having it up that amount of time was with other banners that, we didn't get into what those could be. But she did say in their research, when they started looking into it, they initially were evaluating to use, how to fund it, and they were looking at X dollars per family that would wanna participate. And that's how it was originally set up, but as they were a few months into the organization, that grant opportunity presented itself. But most of the communities that they were modeling after, it was a cost per the family. So, did contact who has made our banners in the past, sent them examples from Batesville, and they said it would be in the $95 to $100 range just to make the banner. So we'd be looking at, certainly nothing above 125, and it's, but, in talking to Rick about it and with, what we have juggling and then talking to Batesville, which now it's nice because we're kind of communicating via email, and that is, a realistic timeline would be to have this organized with the first round to announce by this Veterans Day, and to have the banners made and put up in the year 2024. I guess they ran into logistics of securing photos from potentially relatives that have served this country, but, have passed away. And then getting the photos digitalized on the banners, she said, is literally you have to, that's a 60 to 75 day turnaround time to build in. So we were looking at, what I suggested to Rick was to give a more formal presentation at our July meeting, which we're through the budget. We've got the construction going at New Village Hall. Would be a good point. Gives us time then to work with, whether it's, all the VFW, the American Legion, whatever, for organizations to get word out, and kind of kick off a community outreach after that July meeting and secure those names to then have this program kicked off at a Veterans Day, maybe even announce it at our traditional Veterans Day celebration that we have. I think I captured that, but do you have anything to add, Rick, since you and I had that conversation?
No, Jim, I think you did a great job with it, and I just want to just say to the council that I really appreciate the effort Jim has put into this, and reaching out to the folks at Batesville and the research that he's done on this. And I think, as you can tell from his comments, that this isn't anything that just happens by itself. It really takes some effort to make it happen. And I, for one, appreciate it, Jim, so thank you.
I don't know if you know where, Jim, yeah.
Yeah, we have a
Jim
guest speaker tonight.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind just.
He did, and Jim, you can talk about your position. I'm sure you recognize the last name.
Well, I'm the new commander of the VFW in Vicksburg here, and I invited Rick, and he kind of invited himself to our last meeting, and he brought this up, and I thought it was a great idea. Talking to you, Rick, too. I've been in towns where I've seen this done, and it's, I'm just a veteran, of course, but
It's impressive.
it's nice. It really is, for the vet feels something. So of course, I'd like to see it go ahead, but I'm just here to listen in, really.
What,
but,
what is your thoughts, Jim, not to put you on the spot, on that timeline of like formally announcing the program after the July council meeting with the council support where we can do the research on if there are other funding opportunities or get our costs narrowed down. Then we'd have from July to October to identify families that wish to participate in it and make them a formal announcement at Veterans Day.
That'd be
And then
great.
have banners in place to put up in 24.
Right, Rick and I talked about this year, it'd be too tight time-wise,
Yeah.
but we'd be willing to try to pick up people that would be willing to pay for the banner for themselves.
Yeah, and I
the
think
family
that gives us
made.
some timeline to see if there's other funding opportunities.
Yeah, right, and, so I think it's a great idea, and we'd be willing to help in any way that we could.
Yeah, totally. I think if we can, I'd be willing to pay for the whole banner. I mean, as much work as the DPW is gonna have to be putting into this whole thing, I mean, the village, it's all cost that's not seen.
You're right.
You know, it's just usually the money to purchase a banner, so if there's any way we can come up with the funding on it, and like I said, me, myself personally, I'd be all in to buy the banner, you know.
Sure.
And I think there's
families
a lot of families that would also.
That would be great, because I know that most of the vets that I work with, I just retired this year, but some of them are in and some of them are out because of the cost. And some of the veterans or retired people are tight with money right now.
Sure.
And I've already had a couple people say they couldn't afford the $200 that Rick and I thought might have been somewhere in the area what it would cost.
Yeah, I'm
Per
pretty
person.
confident we'd get it in the $100 range, and pick up the DPW hanging them, and that would just be part of normal DPW duties.
It'd be easier, then we hopefully round up more veterans that would want to participate.
Right.
That's what I'd like to see.
Absolutely.
So,
I have a question. I'm wondering, are we thinking about a certain number to begin with? I mean, are we going to, we have a certain number of polls that we could put it on. Are we thinking of a number?
We looked at the polls that are conducive to the banners that are currently designed. I think it's right in the 90 poll number. It would be the core downtown, as well as the light poles that go out Prairie in front of the industrial park. We have plans to redo that front where the metal fencing's gonna come out this spring, and look at landscape and different signs for the entrance of the industrial park. So we included all of those light poles in our count as well.
I think it was 51.
I just.
I'm guessing, I think it's 51 polls.
From your brother.
I think my brother counted them for you, Jim.
Yeah,
Remember, yeah, he didn't always count them for, but I talked to him about it, and
okay,
I believe it was 51.
okay,
Okay. So then that's what we would be looking toward to.
yeah, and that number could be the core downtown polls. But yeah, whatever the polls that can handle it, and if we have that number,
Okay.
I think it's an excellent program to sell.
Well, I
Cool.
hope you do buy it.
No, I
It's
think
not
it's
my show, but I'm in it if
Yeah,
you all are.
so we'll work with Jim to make sure we keep the communication
Sure.
open, and our target will be to give a formal presentation, narrow down these costs, see if there's any funding opportunities out there to offset or defray. And then be able, with the council's support, because the council would need to approve utilizing the light poles for this. Look for that council action to take place in July of this year. And then we'll work to secure X number of, family members to be recognized. And with the goal of making that formal announcement, maybe having a couple of examples present at the November
That'd be great.
Veterans
Veterans
Day that we had down at Sunset. I think it fits well with, we've had a lot of conversations about an appropriate Veterans Memorial. To the point we invested and have a now rendering. It's just a couple $100,000, so we're in the savings mode at this point. But this goes to demonstrate, I think, what's in the heart of the community, honoring veterans and their service.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different funding ideas too. I mean, from the VFW to I mean, not y'all personally, but GoFundMe pages or Patronicity or things like that, you know, where I could donate to cover one of your soldiers, you know, they can't. So there's things we can do like that. So I think it's a great idea. We'll deal with it after the July meeting and put a plan, and put a presentation together and put a plan together and go after it for 24.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you.
President Frisbee.
I know I'm kind of deviating from protocol here, but Mrs. Cree wanted to say something, and
I've seen banners with a veteran on one side and another veteran on the opposite side as well. So utilize a pole with two people in Bangor. I think their banners are like that. They have one on one side and one on the opposite side, just for more opportunity for more veterans.
Yeah,
thanks.
that's great, yeah. I was down in just, Brownsburg on the west side of Indianapolis a month ago, and they had a bunch of them down one side of the road, and there were opposite pictures on each side, so it's 50 poles, it's 100 paces, that's really, really cool. Not just because I'm a veteran, but it shows that, communities are supporting their old vets. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Jim.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Talk to you later. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, John.
President Frisbee.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we table this until the July meeting where a formal presentation could be put together by village staff, and then we can make a plan to move forward with it.
We have the motion's made. Is there a second? Support?
Trustee Wagner, I'll support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, supported by Trustee Wagner. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so that motion carries. Thanks, Rick, appreciate it. And Jim, thanks for already looking into some of this for us. So that leads us to,
I'd just like to say that if I was president, that I would also like to vote in the affirmative as well.
thank you. Thank you much.
Thanks.
That moves us to Mr. Mallory's report.
Yeah, if, first off, some of you may have noticed a construction trailer has shown up at the site off Richardson Street. We are scheduled, for next Monday, April 24th at 4 p.m. to have our groundbreaking ceremony. Have had, multiple commitments from federal and state and county officials that will be in attendance as well with the council. I know, unfortunately, Mr. Holmes has a work commitment that has him out of the area. But we'll go ahead and proceed with the groundbreaking, and the furniture bid that's connected, I anticipate by the end of the week or early next week to be distributed to 5 companies to keep that process going forward. Looking for a November, December arrival date on that. So we can time this all out, but I'm relying on Mike Fredericks and Kurt Penny to figure out the logistics of that. But I'll pause there. If anyone has any questions about related to the Village Hall project.
It's gonna be fun.
Well, we still have multiple meetings per week on it as we move forward. You'll see ribbons around different trees on the site that are indicating which trees need to come out for this build and that as we move forward. You'll see that work go on, but right after the groundbreaking ceremony, it'll be pretty consistent with moving forward on this project. It is receiving quite a bit of government attention due to the financing by cash. And so we've solicited, or we haven't solicited, but we've been contacted multiple times on that, and I anticipate in the future that'll be highlighted as well. We met last week with the company who put in the sidewalks downtown that had warranty of 1 year that comes up June 1st. So there will be sections of the downtown sidewalk that are removed due to not meeting the warranty specs where we are. We have within that contract the work to be completed and the sidewalks available for full use by June 1st. Now, that does not mean they're gonna get ripped out next week and not be put back in. It'll be pretty fluid, but they have to have it all completed and walkable by June 1st before we get into these summer events and happenings in downtown Vicksburg. But, if, when people see the equipment show up, it will get word out by social media, but it'll be pretty rapid. So there's that. Also, kind of, the reality, but a little bit unfortunate selfishly for us, Diane Gilligan has, announced, her resignation. She's got an outstanding opportunity to take advantage of. And, so she's gonna, pursue that opportunity she has, so we'll be having an accounts payable position. Michelle and I are talking right now, as well as Christian, to evaluate, if this position would remain solely in accounts payable, or is this a time now to look at a full-time benefit position that has, multiple responsibilities as we move as a team here. I'm hoping to be in a position next Monday, we have a meeting, the April 24th, to present, my thoughts on that, my recommendation moving forward. But we'll have that posting, coming up to fulfill. So once we run pretty thin, so once one of the cogs of the wheel aren't there, it has to be made up somewhere. So, like I said, Diane's been a valuable team member now for I think going on 3 years at least. So, we will big shoes to fill.
What is her last day, Jim?
The 20th of this month, or of this week,
This week.
Thursday. And be happy to answer any questions at all.
The sidewalks are being addressed to your satisfaction, the areas that have been brought
Yeah,
up?
it'll be an extended, the work that gets re-upped will be under an additional warranty. I think I don't know the exact number of trees or plants. I know a couple of the trees down by Family Fair are gonna be replaced, under that warranty. And then, if it hasn't been done, we'll be doing a walkthrough on the plants that were planted. They all were under warranty to ensure. You might have seen in the gateways coming into town in Liberty Lane and Liberty East and West, we've transitioned to a black mulch. So you'll see a black mulch in the flower beds, with probably up to 3 inches. We're just receiving quotes on that. We thought it was a better look with the black streetlights and that. We'll have the same crew putting the flower, big huge pots together, with a design. We'll work with a couple local florists, to secure those plants. They'll be planted though in May after we get through this weather.
We should remember to thank the crew. I will say it looked beautiful downtown. I'm looking forward to it again this year. And I like the idea. Jim and I have talked with his landscapers about increasing the amount of mulch in some of the inner areas in the core downtown. And the black was suggested because Liberty Lane looks fantastic. So.
When was that done?
A week and a half ago. Yeah. And then all the entryways, they also planted, 500 to 700 bulbs throughout the town that are starting to come out to give a different, more enhanced look in our gateways into the community and that. Like I said, that's kind of in a series that we haven't gone in detail, the industrial park that will be taking out that white old fence and looking at different type of landscaping, and ultimately, probably a year from now, be presenting new concepts of signs and that'll give it a pop, if you will. So
Yeah, good.
our goal is to get that last industrial lot sold and developed.
It's a good position to be in. Any other questions for staff or any comments? Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. I don't think we'll move to committee reports. I don't think the tree committee met since the last meeting, but I do have a meeting with, and if you would like to attend Friday at 5.
I could probably do that. I'll check my calendar, but I think I can.
All right. And it's about trees and a few other items.
Okay, sure.
Parks and Rec, was there a meeting?
Kind of. Christian and I were here. But we did, we have a meeting coming up this Monday night, and we have some new baskets out at the disc golf course that have been installed. And we also got the senior class from high school is doing a day of service this Friday, and they will be cleaning up the trail. So they reached out to Parks and Rec, and we talked to Jim about it and got the okay, so be a great thing to have them out there and kind of tidying up the trail. Are there? Okay, I've not heard that part, but great. They can supervise the children. So,
The more the merrier.
that's right.
Thank you, Wendy. Should I ask about cats?
I had the pleasure of sitting in for President Frisbee at the last CATS meeting back on the 29th of, I said that with a straight face. Anyways, they missed me immensely. They hadn't seen me in a couple of years, so. The highlights of it, obviously the downtown Kalamazoo, they're gonna be redoing the downtown, the traffic flows. They're gonna be looking to go, to getting rid of the one-ways and going to two-lane roads. They talked about roundabouts being involved in raised and protective cycle lanes. The completion date is gonna be 2032 when that's all done, so they're still trying to figure out how they're gonna do this, but, they said that it's been they've talked about it for 40 or 50 years, I guess, so that's kind of where that is. Paul Selden, which we all know, he's, Bike Friendly Kalamazoo, he was there, had some handouts that, are available, so I'll leave those with Jim. Sprinkle and Kilgore, this is a little old unfortunately because we didn't meet first of the month, but Sprinkle and Kilgore, obviously, from Kilgore to 94 is being shut down in Sprinkle, various lanes for improvements. And they said that they're gonna be working on the tracks, the railroad tracks. They actually got with the railroad to coordinate that. You're right, so, the completion date, I think, was gonna be 1st of June, it's done. And there was, the director's report, they had stated that, I guess we have a new rep, Huizinga is our new rep. And they are supposed to have a meet and greet with him. I guess it's been a little difficult kind of getting hooked up with him, but they've been cats anyways, the group, to try to get him involved more because they were used to Mr. Upton for a number of years, and now that's changed, so that is the cats report.
Should we take a vote if he takes over permanently? Because that was the best update that I've never done, so. I appreciate you sitting in for me on that one, so the alternate worked.
Mr. Frisbee, if I can add, it just prompted my memory, is the contact we've had with our US Rep. Tim Wahlberg has been phenomenal. With the redistricting, Vicksburg's new to his territory. I know of 2 visits he's made to the village and been involved in the village, getting to meet people. His staff is probably minimum couple times a month in contact on a proactive basis with myself on different federal things to be aware of and that. So shout out to Mr. Wahlberg and his team that certainly has embraced Vicksburg and appreciate their involvement, so.
Yeah, his team and himself has been here a couple of times and since the first of the year, so it's always appreciated. Planning Commission. Rick, you still on? Was there a planning meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was. And there was really just one item that we talked about, and Jim, feel free, I don't have my notes in front of me from last week, but if I missed something, please feel free to clarify here when I'm done. But we did discuss a request that was made forward by the village manager, and that was to use DDA funds of, I believe, $2,000 to buy temporary fencing for downtown that will be placed in front of the Diss and Whistle. The fencing will match what we have downtown, and it will be kept by the village when it is not up. There's a lot of discussion around this. It was actually a really nice discussion that we had, a lot of questions that were asked of Jim. And the comments, again, were very positive about it. I think folks, including me, saw this as an opportunity to continue looking for ways to keep the aesthetics consistent downtown and to, to continue, looking for investments in the community. And so, with that being said, the motion was made and it was voted yes, except for one person voted no. The individual did not necessarily say why, but there was one dissenting vote about it. And that really is it, Jim. Did I miss anything?
No, that's it. We'll be having a more comprehensive update on the master plan at the May meeting. I have a meeting with McKenna and Associates, Wednesday afternoon, so, and there'll be an updated presentation to the council as well. If the council's curious why that financial request went to the DDA, it's because the bylaws for the Planning Commission / DDA's spending limit is 5 times lower than the village policy. So the $2,000 is the village manager's authorized to spend up to $5,000 under village policy, but only $1,000 on DDA. So that's why that wasn't an action item in front of the council. I just wanted that to be clarified.
Thanks, Jim. The sewer is pretty much still kind of in a holding pattern for as far as the village is concerned. Jim and I did meet with our legal team last week sometime through a Zoom call. And we hope to have that wrapped up by the June meetings. I think I've shared with you before that body is asking us to be associate members and not full voting members. So we're just looking at the legal aspect of it. It's taking a little longer than we all would like to have happen, but we're working our way through that, and we have a meeting at this next meeting this week. So I'll follow up on that this next meeting. And I believe the fire board meeting was canceled.
Well, we did have a meeting last month, because I was not here for the March meeting. So, Matt, did you read my report though? We tabled, okay. Yeah, we canceled the meeting for, this month. They have not finished the forensic audit yet. So we're still kind of in a holding pattern, and that was the biggest topic that there was, and the chairperson was gonna be out of town, and because we haven't changed the bylaws yet, that means that their entity would not have a vote, so, that's where we're at with it.
Thank you, sir. Well, that takes us to citizens' comments for anything that's on their mind at this time. So, yes, Ms. Green, if you would please at the podium.
I'm Jamie Creek, and I just wanted to ask about the bench, memorial bench for my sister, and if you had settled with your legal manners that you had going in February, I think, to see what the rules and regulations were for putting benches up in the village, or on the trail is where I would like to dedicate the bench.
I'll be quite honest with you that this has been kind of on our our back burner with the village building a new hall. Has been taking up a lot of time and some other legal issues, but I will state from my position, and I believe this team's position and the staff's position, from the trail, I think we're all in on it. We just need to get some guidance and some definition as to where and how many, and there's a few things that if we could just ask staff to, I know you've been burdened and buried, but this is,
I'll be very blunt. You outsource to a village attorney. I've answered my questions. The attorney hasn't answered in 7 months.
yeah,
It's not on staff.
I didn't
It's
mean to
all-
direct it towards the staff.
It's a sensitive topic for me because I support what they're asking. I understand when the attorney says, well, there's legal stuff, then the attorney should answer the legal stuff. And I'll address it with our new village attorney and see if we can get a quicker answer.
And Jamie, you did hear that, new village attorney, so from the last meeting, if you heard that at all, but we entered into an agreement with another legal entity.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it'll be fast. Okay, all right. So hold tight,
Point well taken.
so just hold tight and.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we'll just keep pushing.
Staff forgot.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll talk more to you after the meeting.
thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, ma'am, if you don't mind just telling us your name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Wendy Mazer, and I'm County Commissioner for District 8. Wanted to come in and introduce myself to you, and I'll make sure you have my contact information. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think Wendy will be here next Monday as well. If I can, that was awful quick of our county commissioner and very humble. Been in public service with the Portage Public Schools on the school board for a number of years, a trustee of Texas Township for a number of years, and 10 years, and now a county commissioner representing. So very familiar with small communities and impacts and everything else. I know highly respected on both sides of the aisle in this county. So thank you very much.
It was a good introduction, Jim. I'm sure we'll all take some time to talk to you and meet you. Thank you for being here.
And Wendy, we always put 2 public official appearances. So anytime you want to address the council, we can have you at the start of the meeting, we can have you remote in, we live stream on YouTube, so whatever works best for you. But we appreciate everything you do in representing us with the county as well, so thank you.
Thanks. So that takes us to trustees' time. I'll start with Mr. Olson.
Thank you, sir. Tim Wahlberg and Matt Hall both came in. Some of us were able to meet with them, and Christian and I had the luncheon down at the Rotary. So we had some interesting discussions, and you should have seen the eyes roll when I brought up to Tim Wahlberg. I wanted to know how he was politically involved and what committees he sat on. And everybody kind of thought, well, then he's going to attack him. No, I just want to know what he's doing for us. So, Scott Sanderson, if you're still on, my wife says thank you very much for the handicap signs down at the post office parking lot. I don't know if DPW was involved or not. I'm assuming they were, but she wanted to thank you for that. I-94 in Portage, they're supposed to wrap that up by the end of July, which means probably November. It's already started now, the construction between, through Battle Creek on I-94. I got caught in a mess a couple weeks ago, like the first day they were starting on it, but they are doing it, and of course the orange cones are up. If you have to go to Battle Creek, I suggest you go through Athens. You can shoot out in front of the high school, take you through Bolton right into Athens, and then head north, and you can avoid a lot of that stuff. That's the way I sometimes go. The only hazard is gear. And we've had a couple of close calls, but so far, nothing. But I don't normally talk about my kids, but I do have 4 children. I have 6 grandchildren. My father, the proudest thing that my father's ever said is that out of 6 kids, 5 of us owned our own businesses. My father had 43 years in with the same company. My brother had 40 years in with the same company across the tracks. He would still have been there if he hadn't had a heart attack on the job. But out of my 4 children, every one of them put themselves through college. They never asked mom and dad for anything. Every one of those kids worked for a name brand company in this area. My one daughter works for the state of Michigan counseling children. And the reason I bring this all up is that my youngest, my son, has now started his own business. He is working full-time at Denso as a supervisor. He's 33 years old and he's making in excess of $100,000 a year. And he decided, because of his love for sports, he started his own video game company. He went in cahoots with 2 other guys, and they have now gone nationwide, and they're starting to reap its rewards. He is going all over the country at conventions, video game shows, everything. As a father, I can't be any more proud than I am of my 4 kids. And the 6 grandkids, they're starting to follow their mothers and fathers in their own small businesses. So kudos my dad. He's the one that gave us the work ethics and the incentive to do better. So thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Eddie. Trustee Wagner?
Thank you, President Frisbee. A couple updates. I had the opportunity to go to the Southwest Michigan First Path to Regional Prosperity breakfast last week. I just wanted to say that was a great meeting, a great breakfast. Getting to see what was presented by the team was their 3-year strategic plan and kind of how they're rebranding the organization, how they're changing their targets and their ambitions. Really, Southwest Michigan First, for those that don't know, they work on economic development for Southwest Michigan. They are changing to a more regional model, so they're supporting what's called regionalism, and they're really trying to tie together all of the key stakeholders in the area to make sure that we can talk to each other, get access to the resources we need for our businesses, our constituents, us as government, private entities, et cetera. So it was a really, really cool meeting to get to see and get to network with a lot of those folks, and just to see how the organization's changed in the last couple of years and how they're really out here to support us. So that was kind of neat to see. And just cool to hear from the team for a couple hours. The Chamber of Commerce had a mixer last week at the Historic Village. It was well attended. And actually, this is the second Chamber meeting that someone from Rep. Matt Hall's team has been in attendance to. So I wanted to thank Representative Matt Hall for that, for having staffers of both of those, because that's very cool to see. We're getting recognition and attention from our state and federal officials, and that support goes a long way, because we've got someone that says, here's my business card, if you've got an issue with something, let me know, we probably got a liaison that can help you with it. And that was to all the business owners in attendance at the mixer, so that was very cool to see. So yeah, thanks again to Rep. Matt Hall, and that's it for me today.
Thank you. Trustee Reeser?
I'm all set.
Trustee Fields?
Jim, I wanted to give you props for the getting the work done on all those gateway entrances. It really does look nice. Knowing that the planting crew is going to be coming downtown again. Last year, I think, was the first time we got to see all of this vision start to come together. And after a year of having some of this stuff in the ground and then, things settling in, it's a great vision, and it's really looking good. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Keller?
I'd like to say thank you to the staff, but in particular Scott Sanderson, Chief Sanderson. I got a complaint from a resident while I was, when I first came back from my vacation regarding an issue. I reached out to Jim immediately, and should have remembered when he's not there, it goes to Chief Sanderson. Unfortunately, I didn't know Jim wasn't here at the time. I thought he was back, but anyways, it was handled very quickly. I kind of followed up on it myself, and so I do appreciate that. And I do want to let everybody know that my original hometown, this is my hometown now for 32 years, but my original hometown of Allegan is now going through an infrastructure project downtown that it looks eerily familiar to what we went through 2 years ago. And I talked to the head of DPW, and he was explaining what, and Milbacher's doing work there too, but I said, I just shook my head and go, oh yeah, I know exactly what you guys are doing, have fun with it, so that's another community now that's going through the same thing, they're doing water lines and everything, so, that's it, thank you.
Yeah, I did see that, but our hole was deeper than theirs. I don't think you can dig a deeper hole than, what was in Main Street. Hey, Mr. Holmes, would you like to make the last comment?
Thanks, Tim. Just real quickly, I'd like to reiterate my thanks to Jim for the effort that he did on the veterans banners. Much appreciated, Jim. Great work. And lastly, I'd also like to just go on record as saying that if for any reason we need to do any fundraising for this, if Jim Skippers is still in the audience, Jim, I'd be more than happy to help support the VFW or anything we need to do to make this happen for the group. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rick. So I think I'll wrap it up. Anyone care to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sure, thank you all for